series on perfect punctuation. Today we are going to be discussing the apostrophe. Now, the apostrophe, oh, this little bugger causes so much trouble. The misuse of this little guy can literally make some people's eyes twitch, and they hate it. Unfortunately, I am one of these people. The misuse of one is so annoying to me, but it's the complete absence of one that really annoys me. It just annoys me so much. I find that lazy. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to make this series of videos, because punctuation is so important. Okay, it's there to make our writing easier to understand, and the basics are not that hard to understand and to get your head around in the end. I understand that many people suffer from difficulties like dyslexia and things like that might prevent them from fully understanding the rules or from having trouble with spelling and things like that. I totally get that. But to me, when people just don't try, when they are unwilling to learn, to actually educate themselves, that's what I find lazy. We have the ability to continue to learn until the day we die. So why give up improving yourself if you don't have to, just because you can't be bothered? That's how it seems to me. So anyway, that's my little mini rant and my explanations on it. So on with the explanations of what an apostrophe is. As I said before, the apostrophe is a tricky little bugger, but I'm going to help with that, okay? I often mess up as well, I will admit it, especially when I'm just like flat out writing with no concern for such things as spelling or punctuation. Who cares? But when it comes to editing, I am as strict as I can possibly be. And even then, I can still mess up. It happens, you know, it's very, very hard to edit your own work. But as long as you try and do your best with it and you try and get it as good as you possibly can, that's fine. We'll notice that, okay? But don't worry. Okay, together we are going to look at how and when to use this troublesome little symbol. And by the end of this series, we will be punctuation masters. Okay, positive mental attitude, guys. We got this. So first, let's look at his uses. The apostrophe is most commonly used for contractions, plurals and possessives. So first up, we're going to look at contractions. The apostrophe is used in writing contractions, which is a shortened form of words from which one or more letters have been removed. So here's some of the more well-known examples of this. It's, it is, or it has. Will, we will, or we shall. There, they have. Can't, cannot. He'd, he would, or he had. Aren't, are not. She'd have, she would have. Won't is will not. Now, let's look at how these apostrophes have been used. Okay. In each example, the apostrophe appears in the position where the letter or letters have been removed. It essentially replaces the missing letter. In words involving the word not, we generally omit the O. That's the one we get rid of. Okay, everyone knows these contractions, or at least they should. They should. But we're going to have a peek at a few more. Some have become so well known that the original, the full words, have been almost completely forgotten now. So, o'clock, meaning of the clock. Cat o' nine tails, meaning cat of nine tails. Will-o'-the-wisp, will of the wisp. Okay. Another place that we find contractions is in speech or regional dialects. Afraid so, instead of afraid so. I suppose so. I suppose so. Have a drink. Would you like another drink? Okay, of course, it's never appropriate to use these shortened terms in formal writing unless you are writing about it specifically. But in fiction and books, it's perfectly acceptable and almost expected especially when writing accents for characters. In some uses, there are a few times when two apostrophes are used in place of omitted letters. For example, rock and roll, surf and turf, pick and mix. Okay, on a side note, contractions should not be confused with something called clipped forms, which is when a full word sort of evolves into a shortened form of a longer word that means the same thing. I know this sounds confusing, I know, but once I show you some examples of that, you will know what I mean. Okay, the fact that we say gym instead of gymnasium, ad instead of advertisement, pro instead of professional, bra instead of brassiere, hippo instead of hippopotamus, phone instead of telephone, or flu instead of influenza. As you can see, they're all shortened versions of a word. They mean the exact same thing, but now the shortened word has become much more common than the original lengthier word. These are called clipped words, not contractions. They are words now in their own right, and therefore they do not need an apostrophe. Never use an apostrophe for these. Along with clipped words are abbreviations such as Mr, LB for pounds, or EG for example. Again, none of these need an apostrophe. And lastly, the use of apostrophes in place of omitted letters in names. Names are not contractions either, but names with normally a non-English kind of surname in which some letters have been removed are written with apostrophes. So O'Leary or D'Angelo. Okay, that's it for omitted letters, okay? See, it wasn't too bad, was it? We got there. So now we're going to head into the realm of plurals, okay? By the way, I'll just say this now. There is absolutely no shame in going back and watching these videos again and again and again, because this shit can be damn complicated. And it's taken me years to wrap my head around them. So you do what you got to do, okay? I got your back. We're good. Remember what I said before. Any questions or anything you've got, or anything you need me to explain a bit further, just hit me up in the comments or DM me if you don't want to do it in public. Hit me up on any of my social media. I'm always willing to chat. Okay, so we got this. As a rule, we never use an apostrophe in writing plurals. A plural is a form that denotes more than one of something. For example, shop signs with things like pizza, videos, kebabs, they do not need an apostrophe. It would be very wrong to write them as pizzas, videos, or kebabs. The same rule applies if you want to pluralise a popular name, like Keeping Up with the Joneses. Okay, there are 3 Mikes and 4 Daves in our class. Joneses, Mikes, or Daves if you're talking about one or more people or things. The only time you would pluralise a letter and use an apostrophe is to make your meaning clearer, as in, you would not write mind your P's and Q's. If it was written as mind your P's and Q's, it would never make sense. But don't use them just for the sake of it if your meaning is perfectly clear without it, okay? You do not need to add them just because. If it's perfectly clear what you're trying to write and your meaning is well known, you don't need it. Okay, right, now on to possessives. An apostrophe is used in a possessive form, for example, Jane's dog. This is the form in which the apostrophe causes the most confusion. So I'm going to try and break it down for you in a way that we can all understand. This is something I've had a lot of trouble with myself, and I've had to research and practice, so you are not alone in not being able to get this, I promise you. The basic rules are simple. A possessive form is spelt with an apostrophe S at the end. That's it, okay? So for example, Lisa's essay, my brother's girlfriend, women's clothing, men's shoes. This rule also applies in most cases involving a name with an S on the end, okay? So Thomas's job, the bus's arrival, James's wife. Now, you might have seen a few names where they are written with an apostrophe and no S. So, as with most things, there are a few exceptions to the rule, and this is what they are. A plural noun which already ends in an S at the end. In this instance, you would put an apostrophe at the end of the word, but not add the extra S. For example, the girl's happiness, meaning more than one girl is happy. Both players' injuries, meaning more than one player. The ladies' room, 2 weeks' work. Okay, a good way to remember this and to work it out is to say the phrase out loud. We do not pronounce the words with two S's, okay? We wouldn't say the girls' is happiness, so we don't write it. We wouldn't say the ladies' is happiness or 2 weeks' worth, you know, weeks' is worth. You just don't do that. So if you do not do it like that, then you don't write it like that. The second exception is when a name ends in an S and you wouldn't pronounce the extra S. For example, Ulysses' companions, Socrates' philosophy. You wouldn't say Ulysses', so don't write it. The other exception is pronouns. He lost his book. The ball lowered its head. Which seats are ours? You would not write the ball lowered its head, because that's not what it is, okay? If in doubt, look at the way it's written. If the use of the apostrophe makes it look like it's replacing a letter, in this example it is, then it's wrong, okay? You wouldn't have a ball lowering its head. It makes no sense. Above all else, the sentence must always make sense and not cause confusion. If in doubt, you can always check online and read it through a few times to see if it makes sense to read aloud, or even use a text-to-speech app which will read it out for you. It can be confusing, but if you follow these simple rules, you will be okay. I promise you, you will be. No one can be perfect, but at least you can do your best. Okay, until next time, blessed be and happy writing.